Jamal Harris sat in his small, cluttered studio apartment, the dim light from the lone bulb reflecting off the vibrant colors of his latest painting. The canvas in front of him was a breathtaking fusion of abstract and realism, a style he had painstakingly developed over the years. It depicted a powerful image of resilience and triumph, a man breaking free from chains, surrounded by vivid splashes of color that symbolized hope, struggle, and freedom. For Jamal, art wasn't just a passion, it was his lifeline. Growing up in a rough neighborhood, he had discovered painting as an escape from the chaos around him. While others his age fell into cycles of violence or despair, Jamal found solace in brushes and colors. Art was his way of telling stories, of capturing emotions too complex for words. Yet, despite his immense talent, recognition eluded him. His modest studio was filled with unsold paintings and rejection letters from galleries that claimed his work wasn't marketable enough. "I know my worth," Jamal muttered to himself, determined as he applied the final brushstroke to his masterpiece. Tomorrow, he had an appointment with Elaine Carter, the owner of one of the most prestigious art galleries in the city. Elaine's gallery was known for launching the careers of many successful artists. Jamal had spent weeks preparing for this meeting, meticulously curating his portfolio and rehearsing his pitch. As he stared at the stack of his best works, he couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and dread. The gallery. The next morning, Jamal arrived at the Carter Gallery, his heart pounding with anticipation. The gallery was an architectural marvel, sleek glass walls, marble floors, and an air of exclusivity that intimidated most who walked through its doors. Jamal clutched his portfolio tightly as he approached the receptionist, a young woman with a polished demeanor. "I'm here to see Ms. Carter," he said, his voice steady despite the butterflies in his stomach. She gave him a once-over, her expression unreadable. "Do you have an appointment?" "Yes, at 10:30, Jamal replied, checking his watch. After a brief phone call, the receptionist nodded and directed him to a spacious office at the back of the gallery. Elaine Carter sat behind an imposing desk, her sharp features and tailored suit exuding authority. She was surrounded by framed photographs of herself with renowned artists and collectors, a testament to her influence in the art world. "Jamal Harris, correct?" she said, barely glancing up from her phone. "Yes, thank you for meeting with me," Jamal said, offering a polite smile. Elaine gestured for him to sit, her disinterest palpable. "Let's see what you've got." Jamal opened his portfolio, revealing a collection of his most striking pieces. Each painting told a story, from the struggles of marginalized communities to the beauty of cultural resilience. Elaine flipped through the pages, her expression remaining impassive. "This is interesting," she said after a long pause. Jamal's heart sank. The dismissal. Elaine leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms. "Your technique is decent, but this isn't the kind of work that sells. People who come to this gallery are looking for refined, contemporary pieces. Your style is too emotional, too raw. It doesn't fit the aesthetic my clients expect." Jamal felt a wave of frustration but kept his composure. "With respect, I believe art is about evoking emotion. My work resonates with people because it's authentic. Isn't that what art is supposed to do?" Elaine raised an eyebrow. "Authenticity doesn't pay the bills, Mr. Harris. My clients want investment pieces, not passion projects. I suggest you refine your style if you want to make it in this industry." Her words stung, but what hurt more was the condescension in her tone. She didn't see him as a serious artist, she saw him as an amateur with unrealistic dreams. "I see," Jamal said, standing up. "Thank you for your time." Elaine barely acknowledged him as he left the office, her attention already back on her phone. A glimmer of hope. As Jamal stepped out of the gallery, the weight of disappointment threatened to crush him. Yet, he refused to let Elaine's words define him. He had faced rejection before, and each time, he had come back stronger. On his way home, Jamal passed a poster advertising an international art competition. The theme was breaking barriers, and the grand prize included a substantial cash award and a feature in a renowned art publication. This is it, Jamal thought, his determination reignited. Over the next few weeks, he poured his soul into his work, creating a piece that encapsulated his journey as an artist and a black man in a world that often overlooked his worth. The finished painting was a masterpiece, a stunning blend of pain and triumph, of struggle and hope. It was his way of breaking barriers, not just for himself, but for anyone who had ever been told they didn't belong. Jamal submitted his entry, knowing it was a long shot but hopeful nonetheless. Elaine Carter strolled through the brightly lit gallery, her high heels clicking against the marble floor. She greeted patrons and clients with a practiced smile, effortlessly slipping into her role as the queen of the art scene. To her, this was just another day in the world of luxury and culture, a world she believed she alone controlled. Her earlier meeting with Jamal Harris was already a distant memory. Promising but unpolished, she thought to herself, dismissing his portfolio as she sipped her espresso. Meanwhile, Jamal was far from forgetting the encounter. Walking back to his apartment, he replayed Elaine's cutting remarks in his head. Too emotional, too raw. Those words echoed in his mind, stirring a mix of frustration and determination. He couldn't help but wonder, was his art truly out of place, or was it simply that people like Elaine lacked the vision to see its value? Back in the studio, Jamal returned to his tiny studio apartment, where canvases leaned against every available wall, the colors and textures forming a vibrant mosaic of his life's work. He sat down at his work table, staring at a blank canvas as if daring it to challenge him. "She doesn't define me," Jamal muttered under his breath, gripping his brush tightly. "Her opinion doesn't dictate my worth." Despite his resolve, a lingering doubt gnawed at him. What if Elaine was right? What if his art would never be appreciated by the elite circles that controlled the industry? For hours, Jamal sat in silence, his mind a storm of conflicting emotions. Eventually, he picked up his phone and began scrolling through his favorite social media platform, seeking inspiration or, at the very least, distraction. That's when he saw it, a post from an artist he admired, announcing the finalists for the International Art Competition. The competition had gained a reputation for spotlighting unique, boundary-pushing artists from all over the world. Jamal's breath caught as he read the theme, Breaking Barriers. It was as if the universe had handed him a lifeline. This is my shot, he thought, the fire inside him reigniting. Elaine's world. While Jamal prepared to channel his frustration into his art, Elaine attended a private dinner with a group of influential collectors. These were her people, wealthy, well-connected, and utterly convinced of their superior taste. The dinner was held in an opulent dining room, complete with chandeliers and fine china. Elaine, always the center of attention, regaled the group with tales of her recent acquisitions and her latest gallery exhibitions. "And then there was this young man," she said with a smirk, recalling her meeting with Jamal. "He brought in a portfolio full of, let's call it passionate work. It's not the kind of thing that sells in galleries like mine." The collectors chuckled politely, trusting Elaine's judgment without question. "I told him he needed to refine his style if he wanted to make it," she added, sipping her wine. The group nodded in agreement, oblivious to the irony of their conversation. They prided themselves on appreciating art, yet they were blind to the transformative potential of voices like Jamal's. The competition. Back in his studio, Jamal threw himself into his work. He envisioned a piece that would embody the struggles and triumphs of his journey, a visual representation of breaking free from societal constraints. Days turned into nights as he painted, the lines and colors on the canvas evolving into something extraordinary. The centerpiece was a figure shattering chains, their expression a mix of pain and triumph. Around them, bursts of vibrant hues symbolized hope and resilience. When he finally stepped back to admire his work, Jamal knew he had created something special. "This is it," he whispered. With a deep breath, he photographed the painting and submitted it to the competition, attaching a heartfelt description of its meaning. The announcement. Weeks passed, and Jamal continued to work on smaller projects while anxiously awaiting the competition results. One evening, as he was cleaning his brushes, his phone buzzed with an email notification. Subject: Congratulations, finalist. Jamal's hands trembled as he opened the email. Dear Mr. Harris, we are thrilled to inform you that your submission, Breaking Free, has been selected as one of the finalists for the International Art Competition. Your work will be featured in our upcoming exhibition, and the winner will be announced at the gala event next month. Jamal let out a shout of triumph, his excitement echoing through the apartment. After years of rejection and doubt, he was finally being recognized on a global stage. Elaine's surprise. The competition gala was held in a sprawling venue, filled with journalists, critics, and art enthusiasts. Elaine attended, as she did every year, eager to mingle with the industry's elite and scout for potential new talent. As she browsed the exhibition, a particular painting stopped her in her tracks. It was Jamal's piece, Breaking Free. Elaine's initial reaction was one of admiration. The painting's raw emotion and striking composition drew her in, and she could sense its power even before reading the artist's name. When she finally looked at the placard, her eyes widened in disbelief. Jamal Harris, she whispered. The memory of their meeting came rushing back, along with the realization that she had dismissed a truly remarkable talent. The gala. As the evening progressed, Jamal found himself surrounded by journalists and collectors, all eager to learn more about him and his work. For the first time, he felt like he belonged in this world, a world that had once seemed so far out of reach. Elaine, meanwhile, watched from a distance, her confidence shaken. She debated whether to approach him, unsure of how he would react. When she finally mustered the courage to speak to him, Jamal turned to face her with a calm yet piercing gaze. Ms. Carter, he said, his tone polite but firm. I didn't realize, Elaine began, struggling to find the right words. Your work is incredible. I may have misjudged you. Jamal smiled faintly, his composure unshaken. You're not the first, and you won't be the last. But thank you. Their brief exchange was interrupted by the host of the gala, who stepped onto the stage to announce the winner of the competition. The atmosphere in the gala venue was electric, the air buzzing with excitement as the audience eagerly awaited the announcement of the winner. Jamal stood among the finalists, his heart pounding. For a moment, the noise of the crowd faded, and he found himself lost in thought, reflecting on the journey that had brought him here. He had been told no more times than he could count. He had been mocked, dismissed, and overlooked. But tonight, as his painting hung in the grand exhibition hall for all to see, Jamal knew he had proven something far greater than his talent. He had proven his resilience. The host took to the stage, a microphone in hand, and the room fell silent. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight to celebrate the incredible talent and creativity of these artists. Each piece in this exhibition tells a powerful story, but one work stood out to our panel of judges. The winner of this year's International Art Competition is Breaking Free by Jamal Harris. The room erupted in applause. A moment of triumph. Jamal's breath caught as his name echoed through the hall. He walked to the stage, his steps steady, but his emotions a whirlwind. As he accepted the award, he looked out at the crowd and saw faces filled with admiration, respect, and curiosity. Thank you, he began, his voice clear and confident. This painting is a reflection of my journey, not just as an artist, but as a person. It's about breaking free from the barriers that society places on us, and those we place on ourselves. I hope it inspires others to do the same. The applause was thunderous, and Jamal felt a sense of fulfillment he had never experienced before. The media frenzy. The days following the gala were a whirlwind of interviews, photo shoots, and offers from collectors eager to own a piece of Jamal's art. His story, a young black artist overcoming rejection and adversity to achieve international acclaim, captivated the public. Jamal's social media accounts gained thousands of followers overnight, and his inbox was flooded with messages of support and inquiries about his work. For the first time in his life, he was no longer chasing opportunities, they were chasing him. Elaine's regret. Elaine Carter sat in her office, scrolling through article after article about Jamal's meteoric rise. Every headline seemed to mock her earlier dismissal of his talent. From rejection to triumph, Jamal Harris wins international art competition. Breaking free, the painting that changed everything. A rising star in the art world, Jamal Harris. Each article praised Jamal's unique style and the emotional depth of his work. Collectors who had once flocked to Elaine's gallery were now clamoring to acquire his paintings, which had skyrocketed in value. Elaine couldn't shake the memory of her meeting with Jamal, her cutting words echoing in her mind. She had dismissed him, not because his art lacked merit, but because he didn't fit her narrow view of what an artist should be. Now, the artist she had overlooked was the talk of the art world, while she faced uncomfortable questions from her peers. A bold move. As Jamal's reputation grew, so did his influence. He began receiving invitations to exclusive events, including one from the Carter Gallery. The invitation was for a private auction featuring works from established artists. At first, Jamal considered declining. The memory of Elaine's dismissive attitude still stung, and he wasn't sure he wanted to set foot in her gallery again. But then, he realized something: this was an opportunity to turn the tables. Dressed in a sleek suit that exuded confidence, Jamal arrived at the Carter Gallery on the night of the auction. The room was filled with familiar faces, critics, collectors, and, of course, Elaine Carter herself. Elaine spotted him immediately, her expression a mix of surprise and nervousness. She approached him with a strained smile. "Jamal, I'm so glad you could make it," she said, her tone attempting warmth but betraying her unease. Jamal nodded politely. "Thank you for the invitation. I wanted to see what the gallery had to offer." The subtle jab wasn't lost on Elaine, but she maintained her composure. "We have some incredible pieces tonight. Perhaps you'll find something that speaks to you." The auction. As the auction began, Jamal observed the room with a quiet confidence. He had no intention of bidding, but he found the event fascinating. The paintings on display were undoubtedly beautiful, but they lacked the raw emotion and authenticity he had always valued in art. When the final painting was sold, Elaine took the stage to thank the attendees and announce a surprise, a new initiative to support emerging artists. "We at the Carter Gallery believe in nurturing talent and providing opportunities for voices that deserve to be heard," she said, her words carefully chosen. "Tonight, I'm proud to announce a mentorship program for underrepresented artists." Jamal couldn't help but smile at the irony. Elaine's sudden interest in inclusivity felt more like damage control than genuine change. The power shift. After the event, several attendees approached Jamal to congratulate him on his success and inquire about his future projects. Elaine watched from a distance, realizing that the room's attention was no longer centered on her, it was on Jamal. Before leaving, Jamal sought out Elaine for a final conversation. "Ms. Carter," he said, his tone calm but firm. "Thank you for inviting me tonight. It's interesting to see how things have changed." Elaine forced a smile. "Yes, well, the art world is always evolving." Jamal nodded. "It is. And I hope it continues to evolve, to become more inclusive, more open to artists who don't fit the mold. Because there's a lot of talent out there that deserves to be seen." With that, he turned and walked away, leaving Elaine to ponder the implications of his words. Jamal's life had transformed almost overnight. His phone was constantly buzzing with calls and messages, from gallery owners, collectors, journalists, and even celebrities who had taken an interest in his work. Despite the frenzy, Jamal remained grounded, remembering the years of struggle that had led him to this moment. A meeting with an influential collector. One afternoon, Jamal found himself in a sleek office overlooking the city. Across the desk sat Marcus Caldwell, a renowned art collector whose opinion could make or break an artist's career. "Jamal," Marcus began, his voice rich and commanding. "Your work speaks to something deeper. It's not just visually stunning, it's emotionally resonant." "That's rare." "Thank you," Jamal replied, his humility evident despite the compliment. Marcus leaned forward. "I want to offer you a deal. I'll purchase 5 of your works for my personal collection and arrange a solo exhibition for you in one of my international galleries. This is just the beginning, my friend." The world needs to see more of what you have to offer. Jamal's chest swelled with pride. This was the kind of opportunity he had dreamed of, one that would solidify his place in the art world. I'd be honored, he said, shaking Marcus's hand. The global exhibition. The exhibition, titled Breaking Free, The Art of Jamal Harris, was held in a prestigious gallery in Paris. It showcased Jamal's evolution as an artist, from his earliest works to his latest masterpieces. Each painting told a story, inviting viewers to experience the raw emotions and powerful messages that defined his style. The opening night was a resounding success. Critics hailed Jamal as a visionary, and collectors vied for the chance to own his pieces. Among the attendees was a young artist named Amara, who approached Jamal with tears in her eyes. "Your work inspires me," she said, clutching a sketchbook to her chest. "I've always felt like my art wasn't good enough, but seeing what you've achieved gives me hope." Jamal smiled warmly. "Never let anyone tell you your work isn't valuable. Keep creating, and let your voice be heard." Amara's gratitude reminded Jamal of why he had started this journey in the first place. His success wasn't just about proving his worth, it was about paving the way for others like him. Elaine's new reality. Back in New York, Elaine Carter was grappling with the fallout from her earlier dismissal of Jamal. Her gallery, once a cornerstone of the art scene, was losing relevance as collectors shifted their focus to more diverse and authentic voices. Elaine's peers had noticed her misstep, and whispers of her arrogance began circulating in industry circles. To make matters worse, her mentorship program, an attempt to restore her reputation, had been met with skepticism. Many saw it as a transparent effort to align herself with the rising trend of inclusivity. Desperate to regain her footing, Elaine reached out to Jamal. She sent a carefully worded email, expressing admiration for his work and requesting a meeting to discuss potential collaboration. Jamal read the email with a mix of amusement and disdain. He had no intention of working with Elaine, but an idea began to form in his mind. The acquisition. Weeks later, Jamal stood outside the Carter Gallery, a place that once represented rejection and humiliation. This time, he wasn't there as an aspiring artist, he was there as a buyer. Elaine greeted him at the entrance, her demeanor noticeably subdued. "Jamal," she said, forcing a smile. "I'm so glad you could make it. Please, come in." Jamal stepped inside, taking in the familiar surroundings with a newfound sense of power. As Elaine led him through the gallery, she pointed out various pieces, trying to engage him in conversation. Eventually, they reached her office, where Elaine offered him a seat. "So," she began, folding her hands on the desk. "I wanted to discuss how we might work together. I believe your name attached to this gallery could bring incredible value to both of us." Jamal raised an eyebrow, his expression unreadable. "Actually, I'm here for a different reason." Elaine tilted her head, her confusion evident. "I'm here to buy the gallery," Jamal said, his tone calm but resolute. Elaine's eyes widened in shock. "Excuse me?" "You heard me," Jamal continued. "I've already spoken with the building's owners, and they're open to selling. This gallery has potential, but it needs a fresh start. One that's focused on nurturing talent, not gatekeeping it." Elaine's face paled. She opened her mouth to protest, but no words came out. A new era. The transition took months, but eventually, the Carter Gallery was renamed the Harris Collective. Under Jamal's leadership, the gallery became a hub for underrepresented artists, providing them with opportunities to showcase their work and connect with influential figures in the art world. Jamal ensured that the gallery's focus remained on authenticity and inclusivity. He established mentorship programs, artist residencies, and community outreach initiatives, transforming the space into more than just a gallery. It became a movement. Amara, the young artist he had met in Paris, was one of the first to benefit from the new direction. Her debut exhibition at the Harris Collective received critical acclaim, further cementing Jamal's legacy as not only an artist but also a leader in the industry. Elaine's reflection. Elaine, now retired, watched from the sidelines as the Harris Collective flourished. She had been forced to confront her biases and reflect on the choices that had led to her downfall. Though she no longer held the power she once wielded, Elaine found solace in the knowledge that the gallery she had built was now a force for good. In her quieter moments, she couldn't help but marvel at Jamal's transformation, from a young artist she had dismissed to a visionary who had redefined the art world. The transformation of the Carter Gallery into the Harris Collective was met with widespread acclaim. It wasn't just a rebranding, it was a reimagining of what a gallery could and should be. With its doors open to artists from all walks of life, the space began to flourish as a beacon of inclusivity and innovation. Jamal's vision had turned the gallery into a cultural hub, attracting art lovers, collectors, and aspiring creators alike. But for Jamal, the journey was far from over. There was one thing he had yet to confront fully, the pain of his initial rejection. A new chapter. The grand reopening of the gallery was a highly anticipated event. Invitations had been sent to notable figures in the art world, including former skeptics like Elaine Carter. Jamal wasn't sure if she would attend, but part of him hoped she would. On the night of the event, the gallery was packed. Guests admired the diverse range of artwork on display, each piece telling a unique story. Jamal moved through the crowd, shaking hands and exchanging smiles, but his mind was elsewhere. Near the entrance, he spotted Elaine. She stood quietly, her posture less confident than before. Dressed elegantly but conservatively, she seemed almost hesitant to move further into the space. Jamal approached her, his expression neutral. "Ms. Carter," he said, extending a hand. Elaine turned to face him, her eyes briefly widening in surprise, before she composed herself. "Jamal," she replied, shaking his hand. "Congratulations. The gallery looks incredible." "Thank you," Jamal said. "It's been quite the journey." Elaine nodded, glancing around at the crowd. "I can see that. You've done something remarkable here." A tense conversation. Jamal led Elaine to a quieter corner of the gallery, where they could talk without interruptions. For a moment, neither of them spoke. "I'll be honest," Elaine began, her voice uncharacteristically soft. "When I first heard about your success, I didn't want to believe it. I thought I couldn't have been that wrong." Jamal crossed his arms, his gaze steady. "And now?" Elaine sighed, her shoulders sagging slightly. "Now, I see that I was blind. I let my biases dictate my decisions, and I missed out on supporting someone truly talented. For that, I'm sorry." The sincerity in her voice surprised Jamal. While he wasn't ready to forgive her completely, he appreciated her willingness to acknowledge her mistakes. "I appreciate the apology," he said. "But words aren't enough. If you truly believe in supporting artists, I hope you'll use your experience to mentor others, not to control them, but to guide them." Elaine nodded slowly. "I'd like that. Thank you for giving me the chance to make amends. Showcasing new talent." As the evening continued, Jamal introduced several of the artists featured in the reopening exhibit. One of them was Amara, whose vibrant and emotionally charged paintings had drawn considerable attention. Standing in front of her work, Amara addressed the crowd with a mixture of nervousness and excitement. "This gallery isn't just a place to display art," she said. "It's a place that gives people like me a voice. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for Jamal Harris, believing in artists who've been overlooked for too long." The applause that followed was deafening, and Jamal felt a swell of pride. Moments like this reminded him why he had fought so hard to create the space. Elaine's transformation. Elaine stayed for the entire event, observing the energy and enthusiasm that filled the gallery. For the first time, she saw art as more than just a commodity. It was a means of connection, of storytelling, of breaking barriers. Before leaving, she approached Jamal one last time. "I'd like to contribute to what you've built here," she said. "Not financially, I think you have that covered, but with my experience. If you ever need guidance on running the business side of things, I'd be happy to help." Jamal considered her offer. While he still had reservations about Elaine, he recognized that her years of experience could be valuable. I'll think about it, he said. But if you do help, it'll be on my terms. Elaine nodded, accepting his conditions without hesitation. The ripple effect. The success of the Harris Collective began to inspire other galleries and institutions to re-evaluate their practices. Jamal's approach to inclusivity and authenticity became a model for others to follow, creating a ripple effect throughout the art world. Artists who had once struggled to find representation now had a platform, and collectors were eager to support this new wave of creativity. Jamal's influence extended beyond the gallery walls, sparking a broader movement toward equity and representation in the arts. Jamal's reflection. Late that night, after the last guest had left, Jamal walked through the empty gallery. The quiet was a stark contrast to the energy of the evening, but it gave him a moment to reflect. He stopped in front of one of his own paintings, Breaking Free. It was the piece that had launched his career, the one that had given him the courage to keep going. In that moment, Jamal realized that his journey wasn't just about proving his worth to others, it was about proving it to himself. Jamal Harris's rise to prominence and his transformation of the Harris Collective had reshaped the art world. What was once a space dominated by gatekeepers and exclusivity had become a beacon of inclusivity, where voices previously ignored now thrived. But with great influence came new challenges. Jamal's growing success brought admiration, but it also invited scrutiny. As his influence expanded, he began encountering resistance from established players in the art world who felt threatened by the changes he represented. Confronting the old guard. The resistance became evident during a high-profile art conference where Jamal was invited to speak. The conference was attended by gallery owners, collectors, and curators from around the world, many of whom had been entrenched in the traditional art establishment for decades. Jamal's keynote speech focused on the importance of diversity, innovation, and breaking down barriers in the art world. While many applauded his vision, some members of the audience responded with skepticism. During the Q&A session, a prominent gallery owner, Richard Wallace, stood up. "Mr. Harris," he began, his tone dripping with condescension, "your ideas are admirable, but don't you think you're oversimplifying the complexities of running a successful gallery? Inclusivity is important, of course, but what about maintaining quality and prestige?" Jamal's gaze was steady as he replied. "Mr. Wallace, inclusivity and quality are not mutually exclusive. In fact, I've found that embracing diverse perspectives has elevated the standard of work we showcase. Prestige is earned by staying relevant and connected to the world around us, not by clinging to outdated traditions." The room erupted into a mix of applause and murmurs. Wallace's expression hardened, but Jamal's confidence remained unshaken. Strengthening the collective. Back at the Harris Collective, Jamal was determined to expand the gallery's reach. He began forming partnerships with international organizations and art schools, creating a network that provided resources and opportunities for artists worldwide. One of his initiatives was a traveling exhibition called Voices Unbound, which showcased works from underrepresented artists in cities across the globe. The exhibition was a massive success, drawing record-breaking attendance and critical acclaim. Amara, now a rising star in the art world, played a key role in curating the exhibition. Her passion for discovering new talent mirrored Jamal's own, and together they worked tirelessly to ensure the show's impact was felt far and wide. Challenges from within. Despite the gallery's success, not everyone embraced the changes Jamal had brought. Some longtime employees, loyal to Elaine Carter's old ways, struggled to adapt to the new direction. One day, Jamal called a staff meeting to address the growing tensions. Standing before his team, he spoke with conviction. "I know change can be difficult," he said. "But this gallery isn't just about selling art, it's about creating a platform for those who've been ignored for too long. If you're here, it's because I believe in your ability to help us achieve that vision. But if you can't align with our mission, this might not be the place for you." His words were met with a mix of nods and contemplative silence. Over the following weeks, a few employees chose to leave, but those who remained were fully committed to the gallery's mission. Elaine's unexpected role. Elaine Carter, who had been observing the Harris Collective's growth from the sidelines, decided to reach out to Jamal once again. This time, her offer came with a specific proposal. "I want to help you navigate the complexities of international expansion," she said during a private meeting. "You've built something incredible here, but scaling it requires experience and connections that I can provide." Jamal hesitated. While he still harbored some resentment toward Elaine, he couldn't deny the value of her expertise. "Fine," he said after a long pause. "But let's be clear, you'll be working under my terms. No more gatekeeping, no more arrogance. If you're here, it's to support the mission, not control it." Elaine agreed, and over time, she became a valuable advisor. Her knowledge of the art market's inner workings helped Jamal navigate challenges he hadn't anticipated, and her presence added a layer of credibility to the gallery's expanding influence. The catalyst for change. The real power shift came when Jamal was invited to join the board of the International Art Guild, a prestigious organization that had long been criticized for its lack of diversity. Jamal's appointment was met with mixed reactions. While some celebrated it as a step toward progress, others viewed it as a threat to the status quo. During his first board meeting, Jamal wasted no time advocating for change. He proposed initiatives to increase representation, fund emerging artists, and make art more accessible to underserved communities. His proposals were met with resistance from some board members, but Jamal's unwavering determination began to win over allies. Over time, his influence within the guild grew, and his ideas started to take root, inspiring a movement. Jamal's leadership inspired a new generation of artists and curators who saw his journey as proof that the art world could change. Social media became a powerful tool for amplifying his message, with hashtags like #ArtForAll and #BreakingBarriers trending worldwide.